Let's talk about something that's happening inside your body right now, trillions and trillions of times over. It's this invisible, totally silent, and unbelievably efficient system that is, no joke, keeping every single one of your cells alive. So yeah, let's dive in. Go on, do it. Take a really deep breath. Feels pretty simple, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about the journey that oxygen takes? I mean, from your lungs all the way down to a muscle cell in your big toe? The answer is, well, it's just a beautiful piece of natural engineering.
And that incredible piece of engineering is called passive transport. Now, the most important word here is passive. It means your cell doesn't have to spend a single drop of its precious energy, what scientists call ATP, to make this happen. It's automatic. It's driven by the basic physics of the universe. I love this idea. Life just flows downhill.
So to really get how this works, we've got to look at the simple, kind of elegant force that powers this whole system. What makes it all go? It all boils down to this thing called the concentration gradient. Just picture a super crowded room on one side of a door and a big empty room on the other. That difference? That's a gradient. And here's the thing about nature. Molecules, they just don't like being all crowded together. They naturally want to spread out. So what's the end game? Balance. The goal is what we call equilibrium. Molecules will just spontaneously move from that crowded, high-concentration area to the less crowded, low-concentration area until everything is spread out nice and evenly. And the best part? The cell doesn't have to lift a finger. It just happens. This incredible efficiency is what makes it so powerful. Okay, so this downhill flow is the principle. But how does it actually happen? Well, it happens through a couple of key pathways, and it really depends on what kind of molecule is trying to get across the cell membrane. First up, you've got the express lane, simple diffusion. This is for the real VIPs of the molecular world. We're talking small, uncharged molecules. Think about oxygen and carbon dioxide. They're like little ghosts that can just pass right through the cell membrane. No questions asked, no help needed. You know, a great way to think about this is perfume. When someone sprays it in a room, they don't have to, walk around and push the scent into every corner. It just spreads out all by itself, moving from where it's super concentrated to where it's not. That is simple diffusion in action. But what about the other molecules, the ones that are a little bigger or maybe have an electrical charge? They can't just sneak through that oily cell membrane. Nope, they need an escort. And this is what we call facilitated diffusion. But, and this is the key thing to remember, even though they're getting help, it is still passive. It's still flowing downhill, and it still costs the cell absolutely zero energy. These protein helpers come in two main flavors. You've got channel proteins, which are basically like perfectly sized tunnels that are just open for business, letting specific ions like sodium just zip right through. Then you have carrier proteins. These are a little different. Think of them like a revolving door. A molecule, like glucose, fits in. The protein changes its shape, and voila, it delivers it to the other side. Two different methods, but the same passive, effortless principle. All right. Now we have to talk about a very, very special category of passive transport. It's so important it actually gets its own name because, well, without it, life as we know it just wouldn't exist. We're talking about water. And its special name is osmosis. It's really just the diffusion of water, plain and simple. Water is always going to move from an area where there's a lot of it to an area where there's less of it. Or here's another way to think about it that I find really helpful. Water always moves toward the area that has more stuff, like salt or sugar dissolved in it. It's basically trying to dilute that stuff to create balance. And this movement of water, it has some pretty dramatic effects on a cell. If you put a cell in a hypotonic solution, think pure water, there's more water outside the cell than inside. So water rushes in, causing the cell to swell up and maybe even burst. Now flip it. In a hypertonic solution, like really salty water, water rushes out of the cell and it just shrivels up. The sweet spot, the goal, is an isotonic solution, where the flow of water in and out is perfectly balanced and the cell just stays stable and happy. And you've seen this in real life all the time. When you put a cucumber into a jar of salty brine, that's a hypertonic solution. Water rushes out of the cucumber's cells and it shrivels into a pickle. Same thing with a plant in really dry soil. Water gets pulled out of its roots and the whole thing wilts. It's all just osmosis at work. So we've gone through the mechanics, but let's zoom out for a second. Why is this silent, automatic, effortless process so unbelievably critical for our survival? Well, the simple answer is it's responsible for pretty much everything.
It's how you breathe, getting that vital oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. It's how you get fuel from your food by bringing in things like glucose. And it's how you get rid of waste. It's the whole reason your cells stay hydrated and in balance. It is the absolute bedrock of how your cells live. And when this system goes wrong, the results can be devastating. I mean, dehydration at its core is a failure of osmosis. Your cells are losing way too much water to their environment. Or take a genetic disease like cystic fibrosis. That's caused by faulty channel proteins that mess up passive transport, leading to all sorts of serious problems.
So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. Passive transport is the unsung hero of your body. It is constantly working in every single cell without needing a single drop of energy, just to maintain that delicate, perfect balance that we call life.
Which, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. If nature has perfected this incredibly efficient, downhill system that costs nothing, why would it ever need a process that actually burns energy? Why would a cell ever need to force things to go against the flow, to pump things uphill? Well, that's a great question, and a story for another time. Thanks for tuning in.